Good evening, everyone. Welcome to An Academy's Kaleidoscope session. Thank you for taking out the time to be with us here today. For those of you who know about An Academy and for those of you who do not, I would like to introduce And. I am Shubhangi and I'm part of the branding and comms team here at And. And is all about making design education accessible, affordable, and industry relevant. Um, it's one of a kind design upskilling school, uh, which was launched by which is the same which was launched by the same person who's launched Indian Institute of Art and Design, which is a brick and mortar design school based in New Delhi, Okhla. So An Academy actually comes from the design pedigree of IIAD and having imparted design education for over a decade. Um, but unlike IIAD, we do not have degree courses. We have professional courses in the domains of graphic design, interior design, and UI UX design. Um, and all of these courses are delivered online in a live interactive mode. And also, all of these courses are stackable. So you begin from the very beginner friendly course, which is a certificate, and then you incrementally build your expertise. But that's all about, and we're not going to be talking about and today we're going to be talking about how to thrive and survive in the creative fish market, which comes under this series of masterclasses that we do under the property Kaleidoscope. Um, where we explore the myriad perspectives of design. Each webinar and talk or discussion is conducted by a design maestro capable of breathing life into pixel and colors, and it is bound to leave you wanting more. Today, we're joined by Akhil, who's the creative head at YAAP. Akhil is a multidisciplinary designer with 12 plus years of experience in visual identity, product design, web design, and motion graphics. Fueled by the thrill of creating, he believes strong ideas shape great skills. His hands on approach, coupled with business acumen, enhances both his creative process and impact. A graduate from the Parsons School of Design, Akhil thrives on experimentation and innovation, constantly pushing boundaries to improve aesthetics and functionality. His fearless creativity has earned him recognition and success, proving that design is best learned through experience and exploration. With that, I hand over to Akhil. Please take over.
थैंक यू शुभांगी. थोड़ा सा वियर्ड लगता है अपने बारे में इतनी अच्छी बातें सुनना. But thanks for that. Before we begin, I want to thank you all for coming out at 7 o'clock, which is by far the most boring time of the day for me, because I'm practically in the metro trying to do the yoga of the metro, which is basically practically trying to survive. Okay, let's go. So Shubhangi did a great introduction for me, and I do not want to talk a lot about myself, particularly because A, I hate talking about myself. B, I yeah, I hate talking about myself. There's no second point. So yeah, I am the creative head of art. Actually, Shivangi missed that out. I'm the creative head art at YAAP. I look over the day-to-day running of the art team, manage a beautiful bunch of people here. I look over a lot of things. I look over films. I look over branding projects. I look over web projects. I look over nitty-gritty social media posts to higher level communication strategies for certain big and small brands. I previously served as a senior CD art at Shebang, which was also fun. Before that, I founded my design studio by the name of Board Markers, which is why Shivangi mentioned the business acumen side of it. I certainly enjoyed doing that because it taught me how to solve a lot of problems hands on. And it also, right now, I feel it adds a certain level of understanding, business level understanding to certain problems that I face on a regular basis at YAAP. I did my master's in design strategy from the Parsons School of Design. I was lucky enough to score a 75% scholarship, which is decent. And yeah, I mean, I just feel like design is beautiful. I think everything that we design on a regular basis holds a lot of value, and I feel I feel sometimes not a lot of importance is given to it, only to realize that it always should be given enough importance. Yeah, I mean, I do love creating some cool things, which ultimately I will talk about later in my presentation. So why have I called it the creative fish market? So number one, right now what we're seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of trends in the market where, with the onset of AI, with general quick turnaround, the client's expectations of quick turnarounds, we've become this we've become this people who are okay with seeing substandard work at the cost of speed. So when I say creative fish market, it is equal to low attention span, which ultimately gets us to changing tracks every new trend, every new ugly PR stunt, every new tech integration, every new gimmick. We just been so low on attention that we're trying so many different things to practically grab the attention of our audiences, which I feel needs to tone down a bit. So for me, the number one how to of surviving in this creative industry is creative, like surviving, thriving, and also not being obsolete is expanding your skill set horizontally. So for me, I am a self-taught designer. I never went to design school to learn design. I think I was lucky enough to do it, and I think I was unlucky enough to do it. I was lucky enough to do it because it really honed my problem solving skills. हर चीज में गलती कर करके चीजें सीखने में जो आपको सीख मिलती है, वो यू नो लर्निंग इन द कंफर्ट ऑफ अ डिजाइन स्कूल, आपको प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग इतनी सीख नहीं मिलती है. बट having said that, I certain things that I learned over a period of let's say a career were I would have learned much sooner if I went to a design school. So um, I started, you know, I started learning with practically experimenting with Photoshop, and eventually, जो अंदर मेरा कीड़ा था, I started getting into branding. I started, getting into motion design, started getting into web design, crashed a bunch of websites to learn, HTML, to learn JavaScript, to learn CSS. सब चीज़ें कर रखी हैं मैंने. आई मीन अल्टीमेटली जब आप खुद का बिजनेस करते हो तो फिर आपको करना भी पड़ता है सब चीज़. सो there is always merit in expanding your skill set horizontally. So back in the day, graphic designers would be just a graphic designer, motion designer would be just a motion designer, 3D artist would just be a 3D artist, and web designer would just be a web designer. Now with the AI coming into the picture, ग्राफिक डिजाइनर का काम बहुत आसान कर दिया है यानी मोशन डिजाइनर में. आई मीन इवन इन 3D आर्टिस्ट. सो I recently came across a video where this guy created a 3D model basis a mid journey image, which ultimately he rigged using motion capture technology and created an entire 3D film, 3D rigged, like a character which was rigged in a time span which would have earlier taken, I don't know, about 4 to 6 weeks. This guy did it in a day. So lately, that's how fast it has become. A web designer right now, you can just type a prompt and get an entire website built. A shitty website, yes, but still a website. So the idea now is to expand your skill set horizontally. A person, if they do not want to get obsolete, they need to, if not excel, but at least know ग्राफिक डिजाइनर का काम क्या होता है, मोशन डिजाइनर का काम कैसे होता है, 3D आर्टिस्ट का काम कैसे होता है, वेब डिजाइनर का काम कैसे होता है. Is something that every skilled designer needs to be aware of. Jack of all trades, master of none वाला हो चुका है पुराना, because the industry is moving towards people who are multidisciplinary, people who are journalists in everything that they're doing. For me right now, the biggest criteria for hiring people is seeing their multifaceted skills, seeing their writing skills. For designers, I feel writing is very important because it helps in client brief comprehension, it helps in understanding feedback, it helps in explaining your work to people, which honestly is 75% of my job. अच्छा काम करना is literally secondary, उसको बेचना is so much more in advertising at least. um AI, we keep talking about it. It's the big monster coming here to take our job. Uh, Honestly, too soon to tell. A lot of jobs are being lost, like coding jobs. All the data processing jobs are being lost because AI does that very well. What AI does not do well is understand the actual context, gives you generic stuff. हम लोग बहुत यूज करते हैं जेनेरिक आइडिया के लिए, जेनेरिक आइडिया जनरेशन के लिए हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा यूज करते हैं, बट अल्टीमेटली इट इज़ वॉट यू डू विद इट. इट इज़ how you use that software. Again, AI will probably take your job if you don't find ways to expand your skill set, and if you don't add value. If you're just not another button pusher, AI pushes button very well. This is a snippet from World Economic Forum ka Future of Job Survey 2024, which earlier it never said that AI will take graphic designers' job, but now it says that. And just give me 1 second. I still can't figure this Zoom thing out. Just give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Yeah, so it's a prediction that had never been done, but the severe the way that Gen AI is adopted to perform knowledge work has shocked the entire system, and graphic designer will end up losing, some of them at least will end up losing their jobs. So something that Kevin Mulroy of Mischief said, and it was pretty funny to me because it starts off with, in 2025 we will see a more interconnected and immersive creative landscape with technologies like AI, VR, blah 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 blah, is what you'd get if you ask ChatGPT this question, which is why AI still sucks at talking like a human being. So the trend he'd like to see moving forward in the society, in the industry, is clients doubling down on true human creativity. So AI is good at many things, but it does not understand humans as much, at least till now. So use it, but add your magic to it. Use it well. Embrace your storytelling skills, hone your storytelling skills, and use AI to do that, and not create basic run of the mill animated people using a runway, or basic run of the mill mid journey generations. So this is something that Pentagram did recently, where they used AI to create some of the graphics, and the sheer amount of effort that went into it, I think that's, for me, that's a very good case study in how to use AI. So they've talked about the step. They started with some actual handmade inputs. They used paint and cut paper to get it to understand the style of it, and ultimately used it to uh, create actual mid-journey prompts and see what comes out. you have to see the amount of effort that even goes into mid journey, because people, at least clients, think that it's going to be just a prompt in and you can do anything, but it's not that. So this is just one video. They actually showed their entire process through one of their Instagram posts. Okay, so uh, moving on from the big AI conversation, one thing that I learned really early on is to understand and embrace chaos, because for me, any design work happens in chaos. It never happens in a calm, muted, uh, properly organized illustration illustrator page. So I'll take you through a logo that I created quickly through that. This is a logo that I created for a fertilizer brand. Signed an NDA, so I can't talk about the back end of it. But that's the brand, and this was how my board looked like. And this was one of the Illustrator files that I had. I had at least three of them, and that's how I work, right? So I create a logo. I create a Illustrator file. I put every inspiration there. Then I experiment. Then I try multiple things. Some things, if I like, I put them. Some things, if I don't like, I still have them and revisit later. I keep creating, and if you zoom in, you'll see a lot more half-baked ideas. And I create one file, and then I have this habit of never deleting that or never editing that file. I would create that file, I would create a copy of it, then I would work on it again, create a copy of it, then I would work on it again, then create a copy of it, so that I have at least a entire version history right there of if I liked a particular uh, version of it, I can come back to it later. Or if I did not like all of the explorations that I did, I can go back to the original form. So if you look at it closely, this is where my artboard is, and these three versions were given, and ultimately the version on the top made the cut. So what I'm trying to say here is that design process never happens in just very organized way. I've, at least in my experience, it's never happened in an empty mind sort of a scenario. It's always constantly in the back of your head. It's always multiple files, multiple variations, multiple edits, sometimes a lot more edits than I'd like, sometimes a lot more feedback than I'd like, but it's always there. So in order to thrive in this industry, you have to understand that chaos तो होगा, और अगर उससे घबरा जाओगे तो कभी ऐसा नहीं रहेगा कि मतलब काम हो जाएगा या अच्छा काम होगा. You have to embrace it. Let it be chaotic. Let it be chaotic, only to go back and find clarity in that chaos. So this is one of my favorite how to, something that I learned in like very it was very difficult for me to learn it, because when you're younger, you're very impatient. You want it to be done quickly. You constantly you want the project to happen quickly. You're constantly trying to push your mind to think, but sometimes it doesn't happen, right? So you have to trust the process no matter how long it takes. So I want to take you through a packaging design that I did when I was in Shebang for a brand called Right Bite. It's the guys who make Max Protein. So Right Bite Wellness was the brand. We had to create Right Bite Wellness unit. Right Bite was given to us, and wellness was something that we had come up. So I want to present some painful stats. Sorry. So I made 20 plus iterations, and I could be under selling it. There could be probably more. 20 plus was the iterations I counted when I went back to my Google Drive to make this presentation. There were 14 AI files, some of them named Right bite, not so right, right bite, final, 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 right bite, please, final, right bite, r- version 1, 2, 3, obviously, but multiple painful files. We had about 10 plus client meetings. So see, the brand is a very old fashioned traditional sort of a brand where there are people, industry veterans from Kellogg's, industry veterans from uh, Infosys, industry veterans from Unilever, and all these old people, right? So everyone has a point of view, and ultimately there ends up being one group leader who everyone listens to. So the more meetings you have, the more feedback they have, the more things change, the more brief changes. So out of all of these painful stuff, that one stat is very painful for me. And we presented at least 15 iterations. So 20 plus iterations were made. Out of that, 15, around 15 iterations were presented to the client. So which takes me to the actual first options presented to the client. And I will continue with the actual work that happened in this project, but there's a slight point in between. Is when you don't receive a brief, you have to make your own. And the how the industry is, you will not get your briefs. You will 7 times out of 10 will not get proper briefs, and sometimes you have to make briefs. So for this particular project, the keywords that I heard, so पहली मीटिंग में तो मुझे सिर्फ ये ब्रीफ दिया था कि राइट बाइट वेलनेस का बनना है जब बना. And I'm like, okay. So I started and I miserably failed with the few bunch of iterations I made. Ultimately, एक दो मीटिंग हुई क्लाइंट के साथ. Sorry. Ultimately, meetings हुई, एक दो meetings हुई client के साथ. तो the keywords that I heard were that, it's a gut focused product because it has fiber. Because it has multigrain, there is a fiber story here. There's a gut story that needs to be presented well. So again, when I went back to the drawing board, I researched gut ke bare mein. I did some research where it said that bad gut biome could lead to people getting anxiety, people getting depression. So ultimately, the insight was a healthy gut is equal to happiness. And these are the first few options presented. If you can see the double L of the wellness, L sort of looks like has a intestinal shape, which was on purpose to show the gut first approach of the product. So I actually want to ask you guys a question in the chat, if you can respond to. If you look at this third one, what can you read from the top? Wait a second.
Akhil, we can help you read out any responses. Don't worry. We can
Okay.
help you with
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
don't worry. Yeah, but I don't see any response right now. Maybe you need to clarify your question to the.
Okay, so sure, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Arey yaar. This is very annoying. So, okay. Actually, let me just rephrase my question. So, when I went back to the client thought that, wellness पढ़ने में नहीं आ रहा है. और ऐसा पढ़ेंगे लोग के well और ness, particularly in this one. So I just want to ask you guys if you can read wellness in one go, or if it's an actual problem.
So
That was
maybe
the question.
maybe people who agree that you can read wellness can raise your digital hand, and I'll be able to count that and tell that to Akhil. So if you can read wellness without any problem, then you just raise your digital hand. So Akhil, about 7 or 8 people are raising their hands, which means that they are able to read wellness.
Yeah.
And then there are a couple of comments in the chat which are saying that it is not clear.
Okay. See, it's good to have different opinion, like ask people their opinions, right? Because I thought the client was bullshitting, quite honestly. But great, if you guys think that you can't read wellness, the client was right, and sometimes they are right. I'd hate to admit it, but they are. So I just want to show you here the progression of how Right Bite Wellness fruit filled bar came out to be, and in the first one, the client thought that the product is cheaper and people will perceive it to be more expensive, because here I was going for a lot more international level. Uh, got inspired from a lot of international wellness and grain bars. Similar to this, I kept the yellow badge here. I kept it because I wanted to show the organicness of the product, the direct grain to mouth story, because I didn't want I wanted people to think that it's a very wholesome, nice, good for your health sort of a product. So the yellow thing looks like a paper bag. The third one is something that my boss asked me to do. I hated doing that because he came up with this happy gut day to you terminology, and I had to put it there. I worked on an icon. Wasn't my I didn't really want to do it, but I had to, because sometimes that's the story. You have to listen to the people who will promote you or give you an increment. So ultimately, this is the unit that we cracked. The idea was to have wellness be as friendly as possible, round corners, geometric typeface, and the double L smiley face. We wanted to show happiness through that. These were a few more iterations, one with the window, couple of them without. And ultimately, we looked at having an actual paper texture of sorts. If you look at the bottom right package, we want to show paper texture feeling, so that when you go buy grains, when you go buy wheat, जब आप गेहूं खरीदने जाते हो, जब आप कोई भी grain खरीदने जाते हो, तो वो आपको बोरी में मिलती है. तो there's a texture, and we want to show that. And again, if you look at the slant of the orange tab, or if you look at all the curves in the packaging, they're all inspired from the Right Bite the Right Bite original logo. We had to create a muesli packaging. This was again a mandate by the client that नीचे window रहेगी, top पे artwork रहेगा, which ultimately changed. This was the final product that went out, and um, so one thing that we applied here is the gani, जो बोरी होती है, बोरी का टेक्सचर डाला है ताकि लगे कि ये मल्टीग्रेन है. Again, going back to the brief, right? So gut wala, we encapsulated the fiber story through the the gut symbolism here with the dotted L's. We added the fiber rich story by talking about adding like a unit here which says enriched with fiber. We had a lot more grain cues. If you look at it closely, there is a pattern of grains at the back. Funny thing is, we created all these. If you look at all the chocolate, all the bar imagery, we literally generated them using AI first. I went to DALI, generated a few a few iterations of this bar, superimposed the bar on top of it, because the client did not want to pay for a the client did not want to pay for a photo shoot, so we had to literally photo manipulate everything. In the end, we used AI to compose and replace every ingredient with actual imagery. So the figs were replaced with actual figs, the wheat ears were replaced with actual wheat ears, so that there is actual imagery used instead of AI generated image. The main reason of doing that was thoda sa, if we don't use normal ingredients, so thoda nakli lagta. But we used AI to create the comp, the dynamic composition, which really helped us. Another variation of this was a Nutri bar packaging that we did. थोड़ा सा उसका डिजाइन उल्टा कर दिया, इसमें ऊपर डार्क कलर, बीच में वाइट कलर, और स्लाइट हिंट ऑफ अ गनी का टेक्सचर, and created.
I
Sorry.
hate to interrupt, but I think some of our learners are not very familiar with Hindi. So if
With
you could,
Hindi. Okay.
yeah, if you could
So
just
keep it in
continue.
English. Okay. Understood. Understood.
Mhm.
Do you guys want me to revisit something, or I can move on?
We can continue from here on forward.
Okay. So yeah, so this was another variation of another a packaging variation for another product that they have called a nutrition bar. And yeah, similar packaging, because the language, the tonality has to be the same, right? So similar packaging, similar typeface, played a little with the typography, but again, the stamp of enriched with fiber with a smiley face is there. This was a similar language translated into a doi pack for muesli, which is another product of their Right Bite Wellness collection. So all of this packaging came from 3-4 keywords. Obviously, a lot of work went into it. A lot of work went into it in terms of conversation with clients, conversation with internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, to practically go to this, creating this language. So the happy gut is equal, sorry, good gut health is equal to happiness came out in the logo unit very well. The fiber story, the rawness of it, the multigrain story came out very well in the gunny sack look of it, in the gunny sack texture of it. And ultimately it was proposed to the client that, wherever there is the gunny texture, the jute texture, keep it matte printed, versus wherever there is color, keep it glossy printed. Because design is not just that, right? It's not just how it looks in mock-ups. It's ultimately how it feels on the how it feels on your hands as well, right? How tactile it is. Again, great use of AI in for basically doing the thought work, basically doing the comp work. Obviously, we had to use multiple iterations. If you look at this bowl of milk, it took me, and this was back in the day when AI wasn't this good. I'm talking about at least a year and a half ago, where it was still in a very nascent stage. And uh, a lot of this work took about 100 odd prompts. Some of the previous variations took 100 odd prompts. This did not take as much, but to get what I wanted took me a lot of time using it as well. So you have to trust the process. You have to understand what the client is saying, try to understand their position, um, make briefs out of thin air all the time, constantly being on your toes. Now going from something very serious to going to something a lot more fun. So in order to keep your brain active, you need to make cool and sometimes weird shit. It's always great to make just things just for fun. Jessica Watch, one of my favorite designers, says that every brand has something weird or different about them, and that's their most valuable asset. I I feel like even when I was growing up, I thought I was very weird, and because I did not subscribe to general things that people usually do. If I'd subscribed to everything according to my family, I won't be in this industry. I would have been in my dad's business, sitting in my dad's office. Would have probably been successful, but not very happy. So I think embracing the weird and your weird side, and embracing and owning your weird side is very important. Uh, this is the branding that I did for myself. Extremely weird, extremely gross for a few people. I love doing it. I loved making it. I don't know. I got a lot of kicks out of it. So I did it for myself and I effing loved it. This is something that I did for a friend of mine, just because why not? I ultimately liked it so much, I didn't end up giving it to her, put it in my own office. But this was just random, sitting in my office, did not have a lot of work. I had just started my own design studio, did not have a lot of clients, and I didn't want to sit down and not do anything. So I just made this. Uh, Nothing too complicated, nothing too great, but I just had a lot of fun making it. And I mean, in order to get ahead in your career, in order to get better in your career, you have to stand out from the crowd. Um, this is the this is a CV that I'd sent out when I had wanted when I was applying to Parsons. Very simple, paper toyish design. And I mean, the attention to detail is so much on this. The laptop that I'm holding is there's an actual sticker on like that on my laptop, which I had created and put back in the day. These were the instructions. I literally sent this out as a piece of my portfolio in Parsons. So these were the instructions, and ultimately had a lot of fun creating this stop motion film to just showcase how the idea is. So fun thing, once you turn the light on, you can actually see my skills, where I've been working in, and my interests. So it was a lot of fun working with my hands, which usually you don't get when you're sitting in front of a computer all day. But it is a lot of fun to work again with your hands. This is another CV that I made. I sent it out, and I think it was 2018. I sent it out. I got offers. I got a lot of interview calls, at least, from this. Just a fun little way to stand out, right? Not everyone will send a CV like this to you. And right now the job market is such that in order for people to even consider you, they are looking for something which is very different from the run of the mill stuff that you see. So better websites. If you're great at creating a website, go out there, create a great looking web experience. If you're good with your hands, create you know uh, create something like this, or create. Sometime, I think last year, somebody sent me a CV which was made on a cereal box, which was a lot of fun. And I mean, these things stand out. Somebody sent it to me. Somebody sent it to our office, and it was a lot of fun to look at. It was a lot of fun to you know uh, share with your colleagues, and invite that person for an interview. Because if you're sending me a Microsoft Word CV, or if you're sending me a badly designed PDF, I would judge your skills as a designer. I'm not reading any chats because surprisingly I'm a okay.
Uh,
Yes,
Akhil,
100 points.
we can take the questions at the end of the session once you're just like done presenting. Yeah.
ठीक है. I just don't have a lot more, so there'll be enough time, more than enough time, I feel.
All right.
So there are a few miscellaneous how-tos as well. I didn't think that they deserve a particular slide for themselves. And so again, nobody likes a complainer. Everyone loves a problem solver. So in my office, I have a rule that if you can Google and find an answer, don't come to me, because I will not stop my work and Google something for you, because ultimately in the end I would also probably Google a solution to a problem. Um, yeah, so the understanding is, try to solve your problem first, then come to me. If you can't find a solution, then I'll probably help you out, but don't come and complain to me, because if you can complain to me about one thing, I have 1,000 things that I can complain to you about. Yeah, learn the basics. Always, always, always learn the basics. I learned the basics the hard way. It took me 5 7 years to understand why certain grids work, why certain grids don't work, what is visual hierarchy, what is contrast. All of these things, it took me a long time to understand. Not that I did not understand them sooner, but it was very difficult for me to explain my project. So I had to go back, read books, um, understand the things that I was doing, what are they actually called. So I would align stuff properly. I would, um, have all of the basics were in place, but I did not know what to call them. And because I did not know what to call them, I had to, you know, wing it in client meetings. So ultimately, I had to go back, learn what all these things are called. And also, people who've just started out in design, I would recommend, please learn the shortcuts. Please learn the shortcut. It just makes your life super easy. You'll be faster. You'll be quick on your toes. It's something that not a lot of people give importance to, but I think it is really very important. Make mistakes. I want to highlight a particular mistake that I made. When I had just started using WordPress, I had built a website on WordPress, and I wanted an SSL certificate on my uh, website. The lock thing that you see on your URL, and the naive old me thought that, if I just redirect my website from an HTTP to an HTTPS, it will automatically get the lock sign. Newsflash, it does not work like that. Ultimately, my website crashed. I panicked. It was, I think, 2 or 3 days before I was set to apply for one of the colleges. Um, Really, literally had a nervous breakdown for 2 hours, then went back to my computer again, YouTubed everything out, figured it out, fixed that mistake. What did it do? It taught me perseverance. It taught me things not to do. It taught me how to improve on things when you majorly fuck it up. So make mistakes. It doesn't really matter. If you're stuck, you will get yourself out of it. It again goes back to, you will solve your problems and it'll make you feel good. Observe without intent. Be bored. Empty your brain. Not everything has to be reels watching, brain rot content. India's got latent blah blah blah. Don't look at that shit. And sometimes turn the damn notifications off. Your brain will thank you for it. And read. It's very funny to me that people don't read now. Not a lot of people read anymore. So go read a book. Go read a paper book instead of a digital book. Go work out, go for a walk, do all of these things. If you have a dog, go play with your dog. If you have a wife, go look at your wife. Don't listen to all what these tech CEOs are saying. Yeah, observe the world around you without intent. It will help you so much. It will build your comprehension skills. It'll build your comprehension skills. It'll build your problem solving skills. It'll build your the world will inspire you. So move away from your screens. Give your brain that downtime, because it's very important. Particularly if you're working in a digital agency, if you're working in a advertising background, everything needs to go out now. But sometimes it's okay to push them to the next day. That's me. Any questions, guys?
Hi, Akhil. So I'm Prachi. I'm the head of academics at and I'm so glad that I joined this session. Shubhangi called me a little while before the session, and she said, "Ma'am, are you joining?" And I was like, "No, Shubhangi, I have one evening free. Can I skip this one?" She says, "Ma'am, aa jao, meri madad ho jayegi." And I'm so glad that I did this. It's been refreshing, Akhil. It's wonderful to hear
Thank
uh,
you.
this list of things. And I'm sure the audience has whole lot of questions for you, so I'll not come in the way of that, but I thought that I'll just butt in and say that it has been refreshing. And i I think I share almost, if I had to do a presentation like this, I would have probably all of these. My favorite was observe the world without intent, and that's something that I don't think people do. And I'll add to it, to the benefits that you listed for it, for from that, I'll add to it, it also increases your lateral thinking, all these connections that you have to make. Where do you
Yeah.
get those dots that you will connect? You have to
Yeah.
first collect those dots from your observations of the world, then connections can be made. So great talk, Akhil. Thank you so much. And I'll let Shubhangi moderate the Q&A.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I would like to begin by saying that if you have any questions, just put it in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of the screen, and we'll take it from there. So it'll help us answer all the questions systematically. Okay. So Shubh has put some questions already in the chat box. So Shubh is asking, do you think printing CV works better or something creative in the digital would work better?
I know Shubh. He used to work with me in Shebang. Uh, I think Shubh, whatever you can do to stand out, if you can create a kick-ass website, a kick-ass, uh, experiential website, it will stand out. If you can send me a print CV, which is again something out of the box, it will stand out. The idea is to stand out. Does not matter if you're printing a A5, A6 size poster and sending it. If you're making a really crazy video. See, the idea is that showcase your skills, right? At the end of the day, it's about showcasing your skills. So if you are a great web designer, utilize those skills and send that website. If you are great at motion, create that motion CV and send that. It's about utilizing, showcasing your skills, utilizing your skills, and standing out. So I wouldn't say printing a CV works better than something in digital. I would suggest whatever you do, put your heart and soul into it and create something kick-ass. That would be my recommendation. And book recommendation, I'll send it to you. If you guys want, I have a design resource sheet, Google sheet in public, and I have a ebook, uh, Google Drive link. I can share that with you, Shubhangi, and you can share it across with the rest of the team.
Sure.
It's not updated, so forgive me if that's not updated, but I haven't had the time lately to update it, but I'll share whatever I have.
Sure, that would be great. Um, so we've already answered the book recommendations question. Christy is asking, what was your process of learning design all by yourself? Any resources you would recommend?
Very honestly, Christy, I started learning design when Photoshop was coming in CDs, and my professor in my undergrad gave me a CD of Photoshop 7, which is very, very old. And back in the day, YouTube existed, but it was very limited in terms of the content it had. So honestly, making mistakes. So for example, if I used to hover on a certain tool, look at what that tool was called, and go to Google to search for it. Sometimes I would get decent responses, sometimes I won't get decent responses, and I would that's how I learned the tools actually. So I selected it, did some work with that particular tool, sometimes screwed up majorly because back in the day you did not have a lot of undos. So sometimes if I did not like something by the end of it and I had to go back, I couldn't, so I had to redo all of that. So long story short, you have to constantly work, you have to keep working at it. That's number one. Number two is find good work, see good work, do good work. So you go to Instagram, follow pages which have good digital work, good design work, sorry, Go to Behance, go to umpteen inspiration websites, look at all the great work that people have done. Download books if you can, or buy books if you can afford them. Buy some good design books, at least in terms of the books that showcase great work, and try to copy them. Try to copy great work. Try to copy the way the typefaces have been used. Try to copy the way illustrations have been used. Try to copy how the layout looks. I mean, go out there, plagiarize the damn layout. At least when you're doing it for yourself, do it. Copy it as much as you can, because you know what will happen is ultimately you will realize that how ultimately it becomes actually muscle memory. So the things, certain people do not align things well. There's something very basic, right? A lot of designers, I feel, at least junior designers, don't align things well. So if you copy pros in their or copy the pros with the work that they do, you will realize that even without you knowing it, that you're aligning things properly. Your color theory gets better. Your which typeface to use gets better. Where to use what style of illustration gets better once you start copying these guys. Copy it. Don't sell that work, because obviously don't be an asshole to other people's work. But at the end of the day, if you're doing it to learn, copy outrightly.
Interesting
Akhil, if you Akhil, if you'll allow me to just add to what you said, I also think that it's a great idea while learning to, imitate. A lot of people think that imitation nahi hona chahiye and all of that, but I sort of align to that. If I can just add one more point to it, you imitate and then try and find in Akhil's presentation also, he mentioned about go back to the basics or something like that. He had mentioned, try and understand what the other person was trying to do. So
Yeah.
you're not just copying it blindly. Make it a tutorial that, okay, this is the color scheme they have applied. Now go back to the basics and try and correlate that. How were they applying that over here? Because that is what is going to create the neural pathway in your head for application in the future. Because like Akhil said, that you can't sell copied work. I mean, you can't put it in your put it as
Portfolios.
part of your professional work. You'll get thrown out before you are
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
room.
guys, don't copy work, because the work that you've copied from is one Pinterest search away. Very honestly, this one time I received a CV which was blatantly copied to the level where even the fonts were not changed. Matlab, they had downloaded a JPEG, uh, you know cropped out the things that were relevant to that person who they were copying from, and added their information. I hated it, and I called it out in front of that person. And that same CV, I've seen people use multiple times, and it's just, you type CV on Pinterest, and that's one of the first few references that pop up. So don't copy other people's work. See, the idea of copying is, it's very simple. You take 5 to 7 pieces of references and you combine them and build something. That's something new. But if you literally copy some layout, you literally copy some typeface, you literally copy the entire creative by somebody, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. I do not. I am I am not at all for copying. Don't misunderstand me, please.
But I had an interesting observation that Christy spoke about your process for design, and then you went on and spoke about like how you started learning tools,
Yeah.
which is the starting point for like so many people who want to learn design and that they also don't know that they have a flair for design. But where did that transition sort of happen where you moved from tools or like just like fidgeting or like working around with tools to just like also moving to like design fundamentals or understanding what design would mean?
Yeah, you gotta love this field, man. You gotta love it. That's the only way. You gotta breathe it. You gotta live it. You, even while you're taking a dump and you have your phone with you, you have to scroll through work. I kid you not, Shivangi. This one time there used to be this app called, back in the day, I think about 15 years ago. I think around 2010 or something, yeah, about 15 years ago, there used to be this website called FFFOUND. Now it's gone, but it used to be a wasn't a social media thing, but it was basically a moderated app, a moderated website. It also had an app where people, curated work and posted images online, and was only majorly design work. That one website, that one app had such a huge impact on my work and my gaining exposure. Like I had a 16 GB new iPhone that my dad had gifted me back in the day, and I had literally 10 GB out of that was all great images. I used to, now what people do on Instagram when they're doom scrolling on their toilets, I used to doom scroll that app. So you have to live it, you have to love this, you have to love this field. If you don't, um, then it's you're not going to get great at it, very simply put.
I think,
Or
Akhil, uh,
Prachi used to say it
sorry.
a couple of times, and then some of my professors also used to say it in design school that design is a way of life.
Yeah, it is. It's a way of life, and I feel, I mean, I completely agree. Like I consider that the one of the greatest decisions I took in my life was to choose design as my discipline, and it's called a discipline for a reason. Uh,
Yeah,
and in today, I don't know. I feel method design methodology. I lagao the design methodology on even planning menu at home. Like that's how I operate. Like that's how I only know that is the only way to operate in my life. And this for sure is not a field where I don't know, maybe there are fields where you can survive without being in love with that field, but I only know about design. I don't think that you can it's worthwhile. There are 20,000 other fields there. If you don't want to follow something with passion, choose one of those 20,000 fields, but design, I think, because there is already okay, I think there's already a pile of work in this world. We better add something sensible to it if we are going to add to that pile of work.
yeah,
And AI is, like you said, AI is there to do all that run of the mill work.
yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. So if you look at Photoshop these days, it has made certain processes that used to take you 5 hours to about half an hour. Lighting gets fixed. You don't need to, when you cropping out images, it's easier. A lot of these things are great to have. Like, I mean, when we use AI in that, I love AI for that, but it can't take over that human, number one, that human need for creativity, that human human need for creating stuff. That will, I don't think that will ever, if that goes away from humans, that's the end of us in any way, right?
In fact, Akhil, if I may nudge you to, sort of comment on this, I, I, I feel that, AI actually is going to nudge all of us to discover what is truly human.
Yeah,
Because till now we used to think, "Acha, because now we are intelligent species, so we are different, and that's how we rule the world because humans have superior intelligence." Now there is artificial intelligence. Then what sets us apart? And it is exactly what you were saying. And I want to go back to that pentagram project that you shared. Um, One of my hypotheses, and I think now it's out there in the trends as well, is that with AI, with Midjourney, with all of this producing a particular type of imagery, the imagery that is going to have the human touch, and the pentagram project that you shared had the human touch, even though it was created using AI. The whole idea of torn paper and brush strokes and raw brush strokes which were
yeah,
combined together. So even in AI generated images, if the human factor of, in terms of the aesthetics, if that is being valued, what, and you've also shared a lot of work that you do by hand, a lot of all this the CV and all of that you have shared. You may have made a stop motion out of it, but I can see that there's a very hands-on, tactile feel to the work that you like to do. What is your advice to young aspiring designers about, you know, honoring the tactile in this digital world? How do they don't want to pick up a today I can I and I've also transitioned to draw on iPad. I'm also drawing on the iPad. So
It's a funny
yeah,
thing
go ahead.
actually, because till date, if I have to design a logo, I can't, and it's again, I will go a lot more into the weird, but I can't design it on an iPad. I
Hmm.
can't even design it on a clean notebook.
Hmm.
What I want is a random scattered piece of paper somewhere and a ballpoint pen or a pencil sometimes, it depends. But I can't do it on a clean book. I can't do it on a dotted book. I can't do it on a checkered book. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I still today I sat down and there was this briefing for a new branding project, and I literally had to find a piece of scrap paper to sketch on.
Hmm.
And every meeting, I have a bit of a focus issue. Okay, even after so much gyan that I've given to people, I still have a focus issue. Like I think all of us do. But for me, what works is if I'm in a meeting, I don't take notes. I doodle.
Yeah.
I am listening, but I'm doodling. I am creating, bubble typography, random. I scribble the randomest of things, and people are like, "Bhai, tu kya likh raha hai? What are you writing? What does this even mean?" It means nothing, but it just it gives me that all the projects that I've done, all the tactile projects, for example, the packagings that I've done, I did a few media boxes for Vivo, which was basically you know a not not commercial packaging, but more like the stuff that you give out to influencers, and that the unboxing had to be a spectacle. So all of that work that I did started off with a sketch,
Hmm.
ultimately printing out stuff, put pasting it on rough cardboard, cutting it out, creating a prototype, seeing how it looks. It gives you the confidence that it gives you that validation, yeah, that yes, this work will look great when it's out there. B, nothing beats pen and a paper, because we've evolved to use pen and a paper for such a long time that the ideas do not flow. If I even if I have to write anything now, even if I have to write let's say if I have to apply for something, if I have to write a essay, even if I have to write a LinkedIn post, I have to still use a pen and a paper, because my mind does not work without it. So as humans, we're evolved to use a pen and a paper, and pencil is better because you can erase your mistakes and there's no you're not
It
worried.
also flows. There's
Yeah.
something about graphite which allows it to slip
You know
on the.
what? I'll tell you what it is, because we used graphite when we were kids. And when
Hmm.
we were kids, we didn't care. We had a child's imagination. The world was our oyster. We didn't care. Now we have a lot of inhibitions. Now we have a lot of constructs and a lot of uh, you know different perceptions that have honed our mind.
Hmm.
But it was that free flowing thing is got to lot to do with our childhoods. It was सब free होता था ना तब.
Absolutely. No, and I mean, one of the things, if I can add, I learn a lot by working with and observing kids, like taught, like just because their creativity is uninhibited at that time.
Yeah.
There is no pressure of, is this going to look good or not look good? And, they're just doing it. Everything that you spoke about, embracing chaos and, making mistakes. Nothing is a mistake in their books. And I mean, I completely understand. I've drawn on, I've taken out labels on Bisleri bottles because my mind is working and I need something to quickly sketch it out. And I've torn the labels off Bisleri bottle and drawn on the backside of it while sitting in Shatabdi, and then folding the label and bringing it back with me
Yeah.
before anything. I understand. I think I relate to that very much. But I wonder, I was raised as a design. I mean, I studied design in the 90s, and that's when you did everything with the hand. So,
Yeah.
but I know that I mean, and this is what I'm doing right now. I mean, there's some random piece of paper lying here, and I've done exactly what you told me, and nobody can throw this paper out because tomorrow I will be able to extract something out of it. But how do we get young designers to, I mean, the conversation I think right now for the audience is that how do we get them to see the value in that tactile, and it doesn't have to look beautiful. I mean, it can look like a random sketch and an ugly sketch. I hope some of the work that Akhil has shared with you and some of the conversation he's had inspires you guys to get over this. How many times, Akhil, I'm told by students that, मेरी drawing बहुत खराब है. I'm like,
तो
doesn't
बहुत
matter.
खराब है, मेरी तो बहुत ज्यादा खराब है. I can't draw to save my life. If somebody, held me at gunpoint, said, draw my, my face, I would die. So my drawing, that's the thing, right? People think that to get into design, see, art is different than design, right? Art requires you to draw. Design does not require you to draw. You don't need to draw well to be in design. You need to understand the fundamentals. Design is solving a problem. Art is not. Art is, asking you to look at a problem and feel something about it. Design is solving it. So if you can't draw, it's fine. Just doodle whatever. I mean, I see if I can share. Sorry, random doodles here. Nothing but random doodles. Random doodles.
Yeah. Actually, it does one more thing, Akhila. If I hope you'll agree with me, it does another thing, it creates a synergy between the hand, eye, and mind. Actually, that's what happens. And therefore, because essentially what are we doing? Even if we are drawing digitally, ultimately, we are giving form to a formless thought which is in our head. So for that to flow, there has to be a synergy, a communication which is seamless between the mind, eye, and hand. And all this, I think, this doodling and all of this, and working with the hand, and without the pressure of it looking good or
Yeah.
being good, you know, creates those things. Then whenever you are thinking, wo kuch phisal ke, I always feel that wo bas phisal ke nikal raha hai. Like, it just has to slip out. So I hope for our, I mean, for whoever is in the audience, for them, Akhil has encouraged you to embrace that part at least. Shubhangi, maybe there are a few other questions. I've sabotaged the Q&A
In the
session.
interest of time, we must take
Yeah.
all the questions. I have a bunch of them. Vishwanathan Shanmugam is asking how to mind map. I think that's a session in itself.
Yeah, quite honestly, um mind map, I did some of them in my post graduation, but I honestly never thought they were as valuable as they're, told to be, for me particularly. And mind mapping is just, if you have a bunch of post-its, write whatever is on your mind about a particular problem, paste them on the board. If you have a a glass wall and a board marker, just write stuff, write whatever is on your mind about a problem, about some ideas, whatever. That's mind mapping. Unless there's a specific mind map by an author that I'm not aware of, because I usually do not use mind maps. I write whatever is on my mind on the board, even if it's absolutely disgusting idea or it is a great idea, it's on the board. So that's what is mind mapping according to me. I have not ever subscribed to a particular school of thought in terms of, I've read a lot of stuff by Simon Sinek. I've read a lot of stuff by your Steve Blanks of the world, where they talk about the different processes. I personally believe that you should build your own processes, because it is always, it's honestly always about what works for you more than a process. Like I am not a fanatic about processes. I like building things my way. So, agar if you're looking for a very particular answer to this question, I would suggest you Google it, because I don't think I'm very capable of enough of answering it. But I hope I still did some justice to that question.
Moving on, Shazia was saying, I
Question for you guys more than me.
I am graphic designer and I want to learn user experience designing, but I'm from Pakistan, where I can enroll for a UX design course. Shazeb, we invite you to join a course at an academy. Uh, these are live interactive online courses, so you can join from Pakistan also. We'll be happy to put you in touch with one of our course advisors. Just shoot an email to info at an academy or just like drop a lead. Somebody will get in touch with you. Somebody else is asking, what soft skills do I need to be a successful designer?
Great sense of observation. People skills may, I feel you should see. There's this thing that I a couple of things that I do follow. Number one is treat everyone with respect. Even if you are a if you're at a bigger position and you have a bunch of juniors who report into you, treat them respectfully. um, do not assume this person sitting in front of you, whoever it is, um, whether that person is rich or poor or good looking or not conventionally good looking, um, or anything. Just think that that person is, just don't underestimate that person's value that that person brings to the table. um, Other than that, active listening. You need to actively listen to people without jumping to conclusions in the middle. You need to let them finish their thought. If you're talking to somebody, you need to let them finish their thought and then speak, and like actively listen, don't passively listen. And okay, what else? See, speaking skills would be very helpful. um in the past, I have had to you know talk in such talks like I'm doing now, so that is definitely helpful. At one point in time, I had to present in front of 200 odd people in one of Adobe sessions, which was very scary for me, but I did do that. So yeah, you need to know what to say, when to say, when you're talking about, because a lot of times when you're working as a designer, you need to present your work, because whatever said and done, us designers would love to sit down and create, but that's just half the job. The other half is actually explaining that work, the piece of work that you did, and actually selling that piece of work that you did. So speaking skills need to be upgraded. How can you upgrade those speaking skills? Read a lot of books, talk to a lot of people. um, yeah, I think that's it. Just generally go talk to a lot of people, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, so that you can get out of them ultimately, to realize that you can talk to other people. And I guess that's it.
Okay. Christy is asking, along with the drive link by Akhil, can we also get his portfolio link? Um, and what's a project you are most proud of overall or specifically at YAAP?
See, it's been somewhere close to 7 months that I've been here. Previously, I was in Shebang. At YAP, I haven't, a lot of my work hasn't been released right now. Some of them are upcoming campaigns. We recently did a campaign with Del Monte called The King of All Chocolate Syrups, which necessarily wasn't my project. I did not do it, wasn't actively involved in it. I just took it from someone when I joined here, but I did enjoy working on that. We did a couple of films for National Payment System, which were also a lot of fun. Challenging because national pension system. I don't know if I said payment. My bad. I keep confusing them. National pension system. Pension is not the most interesting conversation to have with people, most interesting topic to discuss with people, but we did end up creating some uh, quirky scenarios where it came, where you know the protagonists talk about it. So that was a lot of fun to crack. That also took somewhere close to 5 months to get out. So yeah, a couple of these projects were fun. There are a few more projects in the pipeline, which once they're out, you will see on my LinkedIn. I really enjoyed working on Max Protein Right Bite Wellness. That was in my previous agency. Really enjoyed working on it, although it was painful, but I enjoyed working on it. Ultimately, the work I got out of it, I was proud of it. So yeah.
All
My
right.
portfolio, I do not have a live portfolio yet. I keep procrastinating on building my website, but whenever I do, you will see it on my LinkedIn and you can access it there.
Alrighty. Anup is asking, how did your weirdness help you understand that you really like this designing industry?
How did my weirdness help? So I never liked doing things the normal way. So when I was, I think when I was 21 or 22, I play the guitar. So I had an electric guitar which I sanded down in my bathroom and spray painted it in my bathroom just because I did not want to have something which is very mundane. So the idea of creating something which not everyone has is very weird to me. When I was in school, I used to uh, like randomly doodle stuff at the last bench, and my thought process was very weird. The things that I still find funny are very weird. So I don't have a simple answer to that question, and I feel again it comes down to standing out, right? So everyone can do that one particular style of uh, a logo, for example, or everyone can do that one particular style of a motion graphic. But what do you bring to the table is what people will pay you money for, is what people will appreciate you for. Like anyone can have a basic idea, but your weirdness adds that X factor to that idea, and that is what people look out for. That X factor, and I feel that your weirdness brings out that X factor.
I think more than weirdness, it's just the authenticity of who you are and then just to be able to express that.
Correct.
Priyadarshini is asking, what do you keep in mind when you're hiring creatives for your team?
uh, Number one, the portfolio has to be easy to access. That's my biggest turn off. Like, uh, if you're sharing your portfolio on, see, mostly what will happen is that people will look at your portfolio um, either on a laptop. So if they're looking at your portfolio through a laptop, don't put a QR code on your CV so that people can access your uh, online portfolio. Just add that link, because ultimately, if I'm looking at a portfolio through my laptop, I can copy paste a link or click on a link. It's easier for me. If I'm looking at your portfolio, if I'm looking at your CV from my cell phone, I can't access a QR code easily. Give me that link. So very simple funda when it comes to user experiences. Make it simple. Don't make my life miserable trying to access your portfolio. That's the biggest turn off for me. That I say that because the number of portfolios I receive on a regular basis where it's very difficult to access, it's painful. Like I don't have the time, right, to go through 17 different Google Drive links. Like I don't want to go folder into folder into folder into folder and access that one piece of social media content. You just given me a, you know, a matryoshka doll which has a, you know, piece of garlic inside it. I don't want to look at that. It's just, you made me put in that much effort for what? So make it easy for me. If you have a Behance portfolio, the thumbnail needs to look fantastic because that's what will enable people to click on that. In terms of skills, show me the again the horizontal, how horizontal your skill sets are. Like if you're just a person who's great at Photoshop, I can't use you when you're design when I need help from you to design a logo. If you're just a person who works on logos, I can't use you when I need to design a poster. If you do not know how, at least have the knowledge of how 3D works. I don't expect junior level designers or mid level designers to know 3D, you know, be great at 3D, but know how it works so that when push comes to shove, you can get me something out, at least get me an idea at least. So skill sets need to be wide. As I said, stand out. Like if you make an effort that you send me a portfolio which is digital, it's good to, you know, play around with, I would give you a call because you put in that effort for me to notice you. Number four, have a great work ethic. I say that because not a lot of folks do have a great work ethic these days. I've had younger people tell me that I put in those many hours because I get paid well, but you know, news flash, I used to have the same work ethic when I did not get paid well. I had the same work ethic when I was an intern. So have a good work ethic. If you expect your if you expect everything delivered to you, then ultimately it's a barter, right? I will help you out if you are ready to you know, be self-aware, be you know, be humble. Like humility goes a long way. So have like I would, if your skill set is lesser than my expectations, I would build that up. But if your work ethic, your and if you're not humble, I don't like you, very simply put. And I need you to be humble, because if you can't stay humble, you can't be a great designer. That's my personal feeling. I could uh, you know, people can disagree with me on that, but that's just what my experience tells me.
Somebody's asking, can you share your Insta ID so that we can get inspirations from there?
Can I share what?
Your Instagram ID.
I have a shitty Instagram ID. You do not want to see my Instagram ID, you will judge me because you'll be like, this guy talks so much. Why doesn't he put anything on Instagram? My Instagram is very personal to me, guys. I don't put any work on Instagram. I honestly don't even post anything. I feel Instagram has ruined my life. I do not post anything. I lately have stopped responding to DMs as well from my friends. I don't look at my Instagram barely. So yeah, if I ultimately decide and when I get over myself to make my website, I will put it on my LinkedIn. You guys can look at my LinkedIn and judge me for my work.
So, Shubh has almost put a thought on this Q&A box, which is, but to get into a design school, you need to learn drawing, and that too really good.
Yeah, 100%. See, it depends on what program you're getting into, right? So if you want to get into Rhode Island School of Design and you can't draw for shit, then you're not going to be accepted. I joined a program which was very design thinking, very business, very strategy first than design. I got into a design school. I got into a design school with 75% scholarship. So depends on what program. If you're going for branding, you don't need to uh, know how to draw. If you're going for branding in a design school, you need to know how to draw. If you're going in for fashion design, yes, you definitely need to know how to draw. If you're going for fine arts, you definitely need to know how to, learn how to, you need to know how to draw.
Right. Nidhi is asking how to strike a balance between traditional design, which she describes as where rules of designs are followed, and the new design trends where the traditional rules of design are broken. How do you strike a balance?
It depends on the context, right? So if I have to design for a, mm, let's say if I have to design for a LinkedIn, if LinkedIn is my client, I can't go brutalist and maximalist on them. But I can do that when it's a fun brand like, um, can't think of any fun brand right now. If it's my, even if it's my personal portfolio, I can go all out, right? Depends on the context. It always depends on the brief's context. um LinkedIn ke liye I can't, sorry, again, for LinkedIn I can't design a brutalist creative. For Zomato I might be able to. For Pinterest I might be able to. For Dr. Pepper I might be able to. It totally depends on what the context of the brief was. So I don't know if you guys have seen the latest, I think it's not that latest, but the Cheetos campaign, right? The one where you eat Cheetos with your dominant hand. So they've basically created a font using their non-dominant hand. They've created icons using their non-dominant hand. They've created a website using which has all those assets. So that's not traditional design. That looks very ugly if you were to look at it through the traditional uh, eyes of, if you were to look at it from the eyes of traditional design, it's very ugly to look at. But at the end of the day, it's what the context is, right? You look at things without a context, they might look very funny or they might look very wrong to you. But if you look at them through the briefs context, it all makes sense. So you don't need to struggle with the thought that what if all my work is, maximalist. It's not the case. If you're working in, if you're working in the industry, if you're your own content creator, then you can feel free to do whatever the hell you want to. At the end of the day, you can be as maximalist, you can be as brutalist, you can be as minimalist, you can be as fine art inkling, or you can be as typography oriented. You can do whatever. But if you're working in the industry, you have to, at least in working for clients, you have to understand the tone of voice of the client.
Yeah, to break the rules, you need to know the rules also.
Yeah.
So Sheila,
I mean, sorry, I'm going to interrupt, Shubhangi, and I'm just going to put this thought out. And I know we don't have time to discuss this. I actually, Akhil, have never understood the whole idea of traditional design and following. I mean, you do follow the rules in, and what are the rules in design? In some ways, I mean, if information hierarchy is a principle, and you will still follow information hierarchy, whatever may be the style. So I just wanted to leave that thought with whoever had posted that question, that I think that question also needs to be explored at what do you mean by traditional design? I don't know if there is a traditional design, at least not, I don't understand it at my end. Yeah, Shubhangi.
so Sri Lakshmi is asking. So this is again like a build up on the question on the discussion that we were having earlier. Sri Lakshmi is saying you said you don't have to be an artist to be a designer, but does being an artist help or add up as a skill to a designer?
In my experience, I've hired people from Shishti, I've hired people from NID. I've had to retrain them to be a better designer. Because when you're an artist, you're learning principles of shading, highlight, and stuff like that. But you're not learning principles of grid structures. You're not learning principles of information hierarchy or visual hierarchy, right? You're learning contrast and stuff, but you're not learning the way information has to be presented. There it is, you could have the golden ratios, there you could have the rule of thirds and stuff like that. That's primarily composition. But a very close friend of mine now used to work as a art director with me at Shebang. In the beginning, when I started working with him, he was very art oriented. He's a great artist, but it took me some time for him to get him to understand what typefaces to use with which brand, uh, what even the point size of the fonts. Why are they what they are, and why should they be used in a particular context? So I feel for a designer is a designer and an artist is an artist. Sometimes they can be equally good at both, but that's not it's not a rule that great artists would be great designers or great designers would be great artists. They can be. I'm not saying that. In my experience, they haven't been. But I'm sure there are people who are great artists who are great designers.
And we've reached the last question of the evening. Vishwanathan Shanmugam is asking any tips for creating a mood board?
Uh, it honestly depends on what you're doing. There's no, see, a mood board is okay. What are you creating a mood board for? Are you creating a mood board for an advertising film that you've written? Then you're creating something very different, right? Then you have to have character nuances. Then you have to add, how the character might look like, what clothes the character is wearing, what accessories the character is wearing. So we worked on, there's this film that we did for Max Protein called Protein Police. So back then I designed the entire wardrobe of Kartik Aaryan, his badge that he wore, the gun holsters, the the stars that had to be on his shoulders. What else? The badge, how it looked like. So all of these things, when I had to create the mood board for that, it had all of these things. It had how the key visual might look, stuff like that. Okay. If you're working on a mood board for branding or for brand design, you will add colors, you will add typography, you will add the style of the logo. For example, if it's a word mark, if it's a if it's a icon, if it's a logo mark, if it's traditional, if it's friendly, if it's new, if it's like retro, or if it is new age, all of these parameters will have to be defined when creating a mood board for branding. What else? If you're creating a mood board for UX, might have some interactions. Sorry, not UX. If you're creating a mood board for a phone app, or if you're creating a mood board for a website, it might have some interactions. It might have some grid structure. That might have some typeface design. It depends on what you are creating a mood board for. Having said that, it has to have certain things like setting the mood, right? So for example, if you're designing a mood board for a restaurant branding, you will not have the colors blue and green usually on it. The colors that are associated with the restaurants, fast food restaurants at least, are usually red, yellow, white, right? You'll see it in McDonald's, see it in Burger King, see it in KFC, see it in Wendy's. All of them are red, yellow, white, red, yellow, white. So you will not use a color blue, you will not use a color green in it, until unless it's a subweb, but there the green makes sense. You will add whatever it is that encapsulates that mood. What typeface will work with a fun logo? You will have to add a similar typeface. What character, let's say you're designing an illustration, what kind of an illustration would work with that mood, with that tone? You have to understand that. Yeah, I mean, again, everything is contextual in our world. Everything depends on what the context you're working towards. There is no hard and fast rule for creating a great mood board. It just has to talk to the idea, or talk to the tone, or talk to the concept that you're selling.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of this session. Thank you, Akhil, so much for taking
Thank
out the
you
time.
for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We've taken more than your time that we had decided on. So thank you for just like bearing with us and answering all the questions till the end of this session. Thank you so much, Prachi ma'am, for joining us. Thank you, everyone who stuck around till the end of this session. With that, I say good night and bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Akhil. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.